And it's good to feel, for me, a little more connected to the earth. So greetings to everyone. So happy to be here for Robert's 7 a.m. sit. The morning routine for many of you. And it's an honor to be able to be here with you. And if my voice is at this tone, how does it pick up on my microphone? Is it all right? Yes, okay, good. Sometimes I notice my voice gets a little hoarse, so I might be clearing my voice and drinking water. But I know, good meditators that you are, you'll just notice it as sound arising and passing. So as we settle into our seat, I like to call it a dignified posture or a noble posture, taking our noble seat. Hi, Neil, I see you. Got a few others coming in here. So, as we settle in our dignified seats, finding a posture that can feel comfortable to us so that we can really drop into our bodies for a little while, bringing our mind, which maybe if you're lucky enough, since it's early morning, you're not thinking a million miles an hour quite so soon, but just beginning to gather the body and the mind together in the same place. And let's just take a few moments to notice the weight of our bones. Notice our sits bones sitting in the chair, our feet on the floor, noticing touching, where the hands touch, where the lips touch. If your eyes are gently closed, noticing the eyelids. What does it feel like to be you? What does it feel like to be me? In our dignified sitting posture and in this body of ours. What does gravity feel like? Right now, feeling our earth body, softening our soft tissue. And as we begin to inhabit ourselves, we can take a couple of moments to give gratitude to the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha. The Buddha for the hard work that he did and his willingness to carry the teachings on, to begin the teachings. To the Dhamma, the truths that were revealed to him and that he was willing to share, and to the Sangha, the lay people, the men and women thousands of years before us who were willing to put into memorization as best they could the teachings of the Buddha Dharma. And it got passed on to us. And we have this precious human body, as difficult as it is to inhabit. We have this precious human body that allows us to be able to hear the Dharma and to be able to experience for ourselves firsthand, clearly, his basic teachings. And we do it over and over again every morning or every day whenever we decide to sit. And every time we sit down, it's Usually the same thing, getting used to being in our bodies, feeling our bones. What does gravity feel like? Feeling our earth body and our soft tissue. I think about it especially now during the early days of spring, when the earth's body, which has been so hard and frozen, starts to soften and open up. And we have the opportunity to see the flowers, tiny little crocuses coming out of frozen ground, the daffodils. It arouses so much gratitude for the ability to see the small things and to acknowledge that seeing occurs, hearing occurs, touching occurs. We have all 6 of our senses, and so we bring ourselves into our senses as we sit. Noticing what gravity feels like, and being a container for our breath. Being as open and receptive as possible. Softening any of the hard places we may notice. We can move out of our bodies a little to notice sensing of sounds. Maybe outside of your room, outside of your house. Maybe around the room that you're in. We may notice sight. Some of us have inner sights or colors. We may notice taste and touch. We may notice thinking, thoughts as they arise and pass. So we're noticing the body as the body, noticing pressure and lightness, tingling. We notice them as sensations, not me, not I, sensations that come to our awareness. And we have kindness and self-compassion. Kindness for ourselves, for being here together day after day, being here willing to look at the present moment, be in the body, be aware, letting mindfulness come to the fore of what happens at the sense doors, without grasping and clinging onto identifying what's going on, but just allowing those sensations to come to us. Sometimes it's helpful to settle the body and the mind by inviting ourselves for a little traveling through our nervous system or through our bodies with a little relaxation. Noticing our eyes, relaxing around the eyes and the jaw. And allowing the tissue on the face, the skin, letting it relax. Even let a little feeling of plumpness come into the face as it relaxes. Allowing a tiny smile to come to the face. Imagining our ear canals, letting our ear canals open. And even noticing the root of the tongue, relaxing the root of the tongue. And we can invite our shoulder blades to soften down our back, like a waterfall along the intercostals and the rib cage. And softening our belly, just letting it hang. And our sits bones. Feeling our body sitting on the sits bones and the pressure of our buttocks on the seat. And so we fully inhabit our bodies, softening of our bodies, holding ourselves gently. And we can begin for a while, if you haven't already, in your own practice of noticing your breath. And you can just let the sound of my words flow over you if you have a regular way of relaxing and being with yourself and bringing mindfulness into the fore. And just let my words be sound arriving to the ear and passing away. And if you like a little guidance, sometimes it's helpful to start with some concentration of a single object. It could be that sit point of your buttocks on the chair or pressure of your feet on the floor. Your hands where they're resting. The breath. Noticing warmth or coolness. Noticing the breath is a long breath on the inhale or a short breath. And if it's a long or a short breath on the exhale. Inhabiting our bodies softening our faces, feeling gravity, noticing the breath. We can notice the breath at the nostrils or the belly. If we're at the diaphragm, we can notice pressure as the breath fills. And the release of that pressure as the breath exhales. And we bring ourselves gently back to the breath from time to time when we notice our attention wandering, as it helps build concentration. And this concentration can help keep the hindrances at bay. So that we can develop a stillness in the body and a calmness in the mind, a stability in our practice, and a gladdening of the heart and mind. Reminding ourselves to be present with the sense doors, what arises at the sense doors. If we notice, if thinking occurs, whenever we catch ourselves noticing that, it's awareness is there. It's a moment of awareness, mindfulness is present and awareness is noticing, and wisdom can investigate it a little and suggest, notice whether it's pleasant or unpleasant or neutral without going too far along the thought train, and we can bring ourselves back gently to noticing the breath. Keeping the belly soft, the eyes relaxed, the root of the tongue relaxed. It allows the vagal nerve, the nervous system, to relax and flow from our brains down through our bellies. After establishing our noble seat, reminding ourselves to stay present with the breath, the rising and the falling, the warmth and coolness, the pressure. Sometimes our breath becomes a little more subtle. We can feel it through the whole body. The cauldron of our body is breathing. We return to the single object of mindfulness, of the breath. If the mind wanders and a lot of hindrances of sloth and torpor or restlessness or doubt, grasping or aversion arise, we can go back to the single object of the rising and the falling of the breath. And if we feel that mindfulness is established and awareness is present, we may feel a more spacious breathing container. We're still aware of the breath. We have a bird's eye view of the breath. But there's a more open feeling in which we rest in mindfulness, rest in awareness. And have a flexibility of the mind to notice what arises at any of the sense doors. Not going seeking, but just being open, receptive, and present. Resting in this spacious sky awareness in our bodies. But having awareness be present. Taking an interest in what's happening right now. What's happening in the mind right now? What's happening in the body right now? What's happening in the heart right now? We're just open and present. Gladdening the mind, holding ourselves in kindness, inclining the mind toward gratitude of this fathom-long body in which all the world can be seen. Joy can arise. We might have sensations of lightness or tingling fullness throughout the body, a tranquility in the mind. As awareness gets more keen, oftentimes the hindrances get a little more subtle. But mindfulness is there. We can notice when there's a grasping someplace. We do our best to notice it and let it relax. There may be aversion, tiredness, or anxiety, or restlessness, doubt that arises. All of these hindrances come and go, come and go, come and go. And we have mindfulness present to notice the constantly changing nature of conditions. And if we don't grasp onto them, identify them as me and mine, we can just hold them kindly and fully in this softened cauldron body, heart-mind presence. Being with what arises, seeing it clearly for its true nature of being impermanent, that we can't grasp on to either the pleasant or the unpleasant. It's not ours to hold on to, which can bring us great freedom, a lightness to the mind, an openness to the heart. The practice of insight can help us see clearly everything that arises and passes away. And the practice of kindness, openness, holding ourselves gently, can balance the insight practice so that it can be well-rounded, heartfelt. as we wander away from our chosen object or from this more spacious, open field of awareness, we just gently bring ourselves back to the present moment. No shame, no blame. This is the way it is right now. We can return that smile to our face. Soften ourselves. Stay open with just enough effort to be alert to the present moment. Not so much effort that we're striving or things feel tight, but not so loose that we don't really know what's happening. Just the right amount of effort. Interest. Relaxing. Settling. Settling in the body and openness in the heart and mind to see what's really happening right now in the present moment, what arises and passes away. Without analyzing it, but bringing awareness to the knowing of it, being present with it. And as we hold ourselves gently in this present moment, let's allow some of this awareness, kindness, openness, gratitude, lightening of the heart and mind, yet staying very present. Let us hold it in a kind way in our cauldron body. Let us hold ourselves in kindness. Wishing ourselves to be free from harm, safe and protected, and have ease and well-being. And if that's hard to do for yourself, include in your orbit a close friend. And let's see this close friend happy and healthy. Having the intention of goodwill, kindness, wishing them to be free from inner and outer harm, safe and protected, and have ease and well-being. letting this heartfelt sense of kindness include a teacher. Could be an animal, a child, or an actual teacher. Maybe the first person who brought you to the Dharma. Holding this being in your heart, in your cauldron body. In your open breath, allowing the intention of the inclination of your heart to send them kindness. May you have ease and well-being. May you have compassion for yourself when things are challenging. May you find joy and have moments of equanimity when the mind goes to extremes. And allowing this kindness that we have for ourselves, our close friend, our benefactor, teacher, letting this expand to neutral people. Someone you may have seen recently walking by your house. Someone you may have seen at the grocery store or the pharmacy. Maybe you saw someone on television, or a group of people, or on one of your Zoom meetings that you have several times a week. Imagining a neutral person or a group of neutral people, healthcare workers, social workers, therapists, grocery deliverers, whomever you choose, letting this kindness and compassion flow to them, knowing just as I wish to be happy, I know that you also wish to be happy. May you be free from harm, safe and protected, and live with ease. Have happiness and the causes of happiness. Letting this kindness flow to our friends and family members, to our neighbors, to people in other directions, to some of those buildings that you haven't gone into for a long time that house your friends and house your co-workers, those people who still maintain those buildings and take care of the landscaping, run the offices, letting our kindness flow in all directions, to the north and the east, the south and the west, to all beings below the earth, swimming, to those that fly, to beings seen and unseen, those in joy and those in sorrow. May all those beings benefit from the merit of our practice. May they have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be free from suffering. Anicca vata sankhara Upadawaya domino, upakitawa maruchanti, te sam vipasamo sukho. All conditioned things are subject to impermanence. They arise and pass away. Seeing this clearly with mindfulness brings the greatest happiness, which is peace. The sound of the bowl arriving to the ears. We gently readjust our posture, start to open our eyes. Notice light coming to the eyes. Seeing each other in our gathering. Letting this kindness and gratitude and the gratitude to yourself for taking this time to sit and to be together, even though we can't hold hands or touch each other. These heartfelt wishes can flow. So take a moment and look at each other and even the people who aren't on their screen. We can just say their names gently and wish them kindness, compassion, and joy. And I think that Jim has something he wants to share. This might be a good time, do you think, Jim?
That's fine, yes. This video that I took spontaneously on a walk about two blocks from my house, I ran into a family who turned their front yard into a gratitude tree of service to everybody in the neighborhood. I'll just start this video and let it explain itself.
Have you shared your screen yet? There we
Yes.
go. Okay, perfect.
Open this up.
We got it.
And can't see very well yet, but there's little discs hanging from the tree, and there's a little bit of a breeze. So here I am walking down the street, rediscover a grateful tree. And last time I was here, there were about a dozen discs hanging from the branches as I walk underneath them. Now, when I get over here, I'll show you what I mean.
Oh, so precious.
Has a basket of blank discs. You can take home and write down what you're grateful for, and then you bring them back and put them in another basket, and they mount them on the tree. So people can actually walk, eat them, or what people are correct, or gratitude for science, gratitude for coffee, gratitude for books, gratitude for family, friends, and health.
Can you read some of those out loud, Jim, when you
Um,
see them?
Pardon me?
Can you read some of those out loud when you see them? Or are you done? It's kind of done now, isn't it?
It's just about
Yeah.
done. I think this one is mine. I forgot that I had done it 10 days before, but
It looks like my hand.
yeah.
That's really sweet. The gratitude tree. Are those made out of wood?
Yeah, those are branches
Those
from
are
a
all
tree
a
in the
branch
backyard that they
sliced.
just sliced into.
Uh-huh.
So that's the
Beautiful.
gratitude tree.
That is beautiful.
I'd forgotten that. I found it on my phone and tried to get it in place by yesterday, but it didn't.
Yeah.
I figured it out last night.
What a sweet neighborhood. What a lovely neighbor to let
Yeah.
to let people write their hopes and dreams on those discs.
And it was a family project. There's 2 kids and a couple that lived there and just opened their hearts to the neighborhood.
Fantastic. That leads me right into some of my thinking this morning about mindfulness as a heartfelt practice, and how usually the translation for the Pali word sati, generally it means to hold something in awareness. And when the Chinese translated the Indian Buddhist terms into Chinese characters, sati became a character with 2 halves. And the top half of the character is for the present moment, and the bottom half of the character for heart. And so the combination suggests that mindfulness is connected to the heart, to being heartfelt in the present moment. And it shows us the possibility of holding our experience in our hearts, to having an accepting, soft, and spacious awareness toward whatever is occurring. At times, mindfulness practice can feel dry, and it seems to involve a detached, objective, or an unfeeling attitude toward our experience in the present moment. But when that kind of attitude arises, it's when mindfulness is confused with a subtle kind of fear, or a distance, a resistance, or a judgment. And so luckily mindfulness practice is self-correcting, and the continual effort to notice what is actually going on in the present moment will eventually reveal the subtle tension that underlies what could be seen as a detached attitude. And if we can clearly recognize the dryness of practice, sometimes when it feels dry like that, it can be a signal that helps us to reestablish a softer, more tender presence. And alternately, it can be an indication that we need to hold that very dryness with soft acceptance. Many of us have hearts that are encrusted with anxieties and fears, aversions, sorrows, an array of defensive armor. And the non-reactive and accepting awareness of mindfulness can help dissolve those crusts. And so the practice has a cyclical quality. It's self-reinforcing. At first, the practice will allow us to let go of a small amount of defensiveness. And that release then allows a corresponding amount of openness and tenderness to help further and show itself, so that our neurotic thought patterns can drop away, and layers of judgment and resistance and atrophy and the need to define ourselves through hard-held identities can relax. The impulses to be aware and happy and compassionate and free, they all come from the goodness of our hearts. And as we connect to these intentions and allow them to motivate our mindfulness practice, the practice becomes heartfelt. And this can naturally lead to a feeling of generosity, the practice of dana, the first of the 3 teachings that the Buddha laid out. The practice of giving, or dana, is a primary place in the teachings of the Buddha. And he taught a graduated series of practices for people to engage in as they progress along the path. And he always started by talking about the importance and the benefits of the practice of generosity. And based on that foundation, he talked about the importance and benefits of the practice of ethics, sila. And then he discussed the practices of calming the mind. And after that, he described the insight practices. So dana laid the foundation, and then sila of harmonious living, and then the practices of meditation, of insight, and calming the mind, and stabling the mind, and that is what then can lead to our freedom. Oh, my speaker just fell down. So once a person awakened, then the Buddha often instructed them to go out, instructed him or her to go out and benefit others, and to be of service. And the service can be seen as an act of generosity. So the Buddhist path begins and ends with this virtue of generosity. And by being generous with ourselves, we can continue this practice. We can generously allow for happiness and joy to arise. We can give ourselves with a smile, or extending ourselves to really listen to a friend. It's not just limited to giving of material things. We can be generous with our kindness and our receptivity. But I do like one of the practices that Jack Kornfield suggested one time, of that we act on every impulse to give, no matter what, during a 24-hour period. Then I think he couched it with, if that seems too difficult, we could limit the practice to giving small things. And there's also, I forget who suggested it, but it was, give yourself a week to give a $20 bill to someone, and notice what reaction you have during that week. What does it bring up for you? How do you react? What do you learn about yourself in that situation? So, paradoxically, even being willing to receive the generosity of others can be a form of generosity. So as we carry on in this time of difficulty, when we have less ability to be generous, we can't hug our friends, it's useful to remember the cyclical nature of the practice, and that when difficulties arise, we can see it fully with a heartfelt generosity for ourselves and others. So thank you for participating today and bringing yourselves to the cushion. And I'd like to open it up for a little while to see what other folks have to say. Maybe there's something that comes to mind of when you've been kind recently to someone, or someone's been kind to you, or ways that you've maybe not felt so generous and then noticed and allowed your heart to open up around whatever was happening.
I have another meeting starting in a few minutes.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Candle.
All right. Thanks so much, Jim. Great to see you.
Take over the close it
Indeed,
down at the end.
indeed I will. Have a great day. See you later.
Bye-bye.
Anybody have anything come up during the meditation or something they feel like sharing? Oh, it's quiet today. That's good.
Kendall,
Hi, Had.
this is Had. I just want to acknowledge the season, the new life of springtime, and the generosity inherent in our plant ecosystem, which includes us.
It sure does. Thank you. And I will mention, you all know to go to portlandsinsight.org to see what other classes are going on. And I know you know where you are, so I don't have to tell you about PIMC really. But I will give you a reminder that the April 3rd, I think it is, the first Saturday of the month, I'm going to be doing the day long that day. So we'll have more sitting and walking, some movement practice, and if you feel like being generous with yourselves to give you that time to deepen your practice and find more stability in the mind and calmness in the body and to discover what's there, then hunt around on the website for the first Saturday. And it's in the digest too, I think. And Jim always has his fabulous half-day Qigong and all the other great teachers of Wednesday night with Gregory and Thursday night with Doug. I'll tell you, this time of the pandemic has caused us to really deepen our practice. And I think that's fantastic. We're so blessed in this human form to be able to hear the Dharma and be willing to grapple with our hearts and minds on a regular basis, even though it sometimes doesn't feel like it's producing any results. I think we can find that we react differently to things sometimes. Sometimes we hold ourselves a lot more gently, or we don't get mad when the cup falls off the counter and breaks all over the floor. Simple things.
Good morning, all. It's Francine.
Hi, Francine. Good to
Hi.
see you.
Yeah, I'm well recovered from the second vaccine, by the way. It
Yay!
kicked my ass for a day, but much better today, so that's good news. Well, the thing I've been mulling about, and I've been with the group for a year now, is the biggest change I find in how I approach others and the world is I have become a much better listener. I got this phrase about listening to learn, and I'm so outgoing and such an extrovert. I really feel like, you know, I've done all the talking and the managing and the outgoing business enough, and sitting routinely has really quieted that for me. And it wasn't until the sit this morning that I realized how generous that is to simply listen.
Mm-hmm.
And I have so much more patience for it because there is so much suffering that everybody wants to share their story. And I think I used to be pretty impatient with that. You know, more of a tough attitude of, oh, get over it, or, you know, put on your big girl panties, go do what you have to do. That just seems to have vanished for me. So thank you for the notion that that too is generous.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
You're so welcome. Thank you for sharing, Francine. That's really nice to hear. Yeah. It's really being kind to yourself and so kind to others. Thanks for sharing.
Listening to learn and really taking the time, since there's nothing else to do but have time, it becomes much more intimate of a conversation, which is really beautifully heartfelt when you say to someone, and how are you doing with that? And then it opens up. And that's really just warm and lovely and heartfelt when you can get past what I call simply the news of the day.
Thank you. Well said.
Thank you all.
Nice to be in silence, just looking at you and sending kindness your way. If anyone has anything else they feel like sharing, this would be a great time to say it. I'll be back again on Thursday. Gregory's coming tomorrow and Friday. And if anybody happens to want to drop in on Gary's group and you've never been there before, I'm going to take his group tonight. So a couple of times a day of sitting, what the heck? Be generous. Treat yourself kindly. Is that a mandolin on your back wall, Bee? Oh, fantastic. You've probably talked about this before, but who plays it? Do you play it? No.
No, I don't play it. Those are my husband's instruments. I'm just skating on them.
Oh, he's a mandolin player. Does he play bluegrass? No.
He's actually more of a guitar player, which is probably why it's hanging on the wall in this room.
Well, there is a guitar beside it. Anyway. Well, may you all have a blessed day. Take care of yourselves happily and gently. Notice, perhaps, when you have an urge to be generous and give away whatever that is, a smile, and notice it and bring joy to yourself for that. We tend so easily to notice our faults when they arise, and they're so habituated, that little cow path we walk down. And so now we kind of make some new cow paths of noticing when generosity arises, when joy arises, and acknowledging it.